Hey everybody, welcome to Mad Backyard. Today we're going to be smoking a whole chicken on our Pit Boss Pellet Grill. We're going to show you how we season the chicken, set up the smoker, and pick the right temperatures to make sure we get juicy meat and crispy skin. Let's go ahead and get the chicken seasoned. Today we're going to be using this Meat Church Holy Gospel rub. It's a combination of their Holy Cow seasoning, which is a really good kind of savory, salt and peppery beef rub, and their Gospel seasoning, which is more of a sugary, straightforward barbecue rub. So this is a combination of both, so it's not too sweet. It's got a good kick of garlic, onion, and pepper. Works really well on chicken. We've got our chicken set up here on a wire rack on top of a baking sheet that I lined with foil. This is a good combination to use when you're making chicken or turkey, when you want to dry brine your meat. So by dry brining, all I mean is that we're going to season it and let it sit on the meat a little while in the refrigerator before we put it on the Pit Boss. And the reason we do that is it lets the seasoning get into the skin a little more and into the meat a little more and get the skin a little crispier rather than seasoning it and just putting it right on. So I got my rub here in a dish. We're going to go ahead and start putting some on the outside. I dried the chicken off really well. We're not using any oils or anything because that's really going to inhibit the skin getting crispy too. So it's dry, just kind of work it on, it'll stick. It'll start drawing some moisture out and make like a paste, and it'll stick. So we're going to get it on the skin, the wings, the legs, the thighs, all over the top here. And then what I like to do as well, and this is why you want your gloves on when you're doing this, and have the seasoning in a separate bowl, is I want to get some seasoning down under the skin too. So if you kind of work under, I'll turn it this way so you can see. If you kind of work under the skin like that, it helps separate the skin a little bit from the meat too, obviously, and that's going to help it render a little better on the smoker too, and get more seasoning down in the meat itself and not just all on the skin. So I'm going to put some down in the cavity too, so we get the insides of the thigh meat. Don't neglect the thighs and the legs. You want to make sure you're getting all sides of these. We're going to flip this guy over. And then for the thighs, you can kind of find a little spot here. Yep, so it's not going to be as big as with the breast, but you can find a spot to get some seasoning on your thighs as well under the skin, just to get a little extra flavor in there. Just work a finger or two or your thumb. Sometimes you got to pull it away a little bit. There we go. We're just going to get these seasoned up. I'm going to add a little more seasoning to my dish and get the rest of the chicken seasoned up here. So we're going to put this back in the refrigerator. The nice thing about having it on the wire rack combo is that you get air circulation all around. That's going to help the seasoning really penetrate into the skin. And while this is dry brining in the refrigerator, we're going to go ahead and get our Pit Boss started. Start up your smoker, let it run through the startup cycle, and set the temperature to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. We're also going to be setting up a small firebox with some chunks of apple wood for extra smoke flavor. We made a video showing you step-by-step how to set this up to get extra smoke flavor on a pellet grill. I'll put a link to it down in the description if you want to learn more. I'm going to put our smoker box towards the back of the Pit Boss here, away from the temperature probe, but on the left so that the smoke travels over our chicken. I'm going to take our seasoned chicken out of the refrigerator. I'm going to leave it right on the pan like this because it's going to do a couple things. First of all, it's going to make cleanup a little easier later. All we got to do is throw away the foil that's underneath it. Second of all, it's going to give us a little extra heat diffusion by the pan, blocking that direct heat coming from below on a Pit Boss. So we're going to keep it over towards the right side of the grill here. I like to start off with the legs pointing to the left. The left side of my Pit Boss is hotter, so I like to have the thighs and the legs kind of taking the brunt of that heat rather than the breast meat on the chicken. So we're just going to let this sit here for a little while at 300 degrees, get some smoke flavor, and then we'll check back on it in a little bit. Our chicken's been on the Pit Boss for about 2 hours now. I'm putting a temperature probe in the back part of the breast here. I'm using my meter thermometer here. We're gonna go right in the back. I like to do it just like on our turkeys, from the back end like this. Try to avoid the little cavity that's down here so you make sure you're in the thickest part of the meat. We want to go in until the end of the probes, right about the center there. And then we're just going to monitor it on the meter app here to tell us kind of how it's coming along. I'm going to go ahead and close the lid so we can keep our heat in here. I'm going to turn the temperature up now to 375 degrees. And the reason I'm doing that is so we can get the skin on our chicken nice and crispy. It's gonna have a hard time rendering out and getting as crispy as possible at only 300 degrees, but we wanted to give it time to develop some flavor and get some smoke and everything else. So we started at 300, turning it up now, gonna keep a close eye on it. Take it off when it hits about 160 degrees or so in the breast so that it rests and comes the rest of the way up to 165, which is our final internal safe temperature for chicken. So we got the meter probe in. You can see the internal temperature is about 138, ambient's coming up because it's at, you know, we had the lid open, so it's going to say about 200 degrees here. We're going to hit setup to cook. We're going to pick our poultry. We're doing chicken. We're doing a whole chicken. It's telling us what we want to get it up to. It's kind of nice. You don't have to Google the final temperature. Going to hit start cook. And then it's going to take a little while to tell us about how much longer it's going to take cooking once it figures out what the final, once it figures out what the ambient temperature really is. The nice thing about the meter is that it's got the probe measuring the meat, but then this outside here measures the ambient temperature too. So you can really get an idea what your Pit Boss is running, especially if you move the chicken around to different spots on the grill. So it's nice not having any wires and stuff like that. I'll put a link to the meter down in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. But we'll let this run for a little bit. We're at 138. I don't think it's going to take too much longer to get up to that 160 mark, and then we'll take it off and let it rest. Okay, the chicken's been on about an hour since we first turned the heat up. Let's take a look at it. So the meter's reading 160 degrees. We want to kind of spot check it in a couple spots as well. Make sure we're right about the same temperature down there. Yeah, I might give it another minute or two on here before we take it off. There's a couple spots that still say about 153 or so. We're getting close though. It should only be another minute or two. And then when we check the thigh meat as well, come into one of them here. Yep, running about 170, that's where we want to be. So it'll rise up another 5 degrees or so. We want the dark meat thighs to be around 175, the white meat breast meat to be around 165 when it's done resting. So we're gonna pull it in a couple minutes here. You can see how juicy this thing's getting. I don't want to lose any of that, but you can just kind of see in there. We got fat rendering here on the skin. We got plenty of flavor from the rub we used. Just looking delicious. So try not to tip it when you're taking it off the Pit Boss. When we do remove it, we're just going to take this whole pan right off here. It can rest right on the wire rack, and those juices will kind of help reabsorb back into the meat as the meat cools down. So we're going to give this about 2 more minutes, and then we'll take it off and let it rest. Okay, the chicken's rested for about 30 minutes or so. We're gonna carve into it now. You can see we got our skin nice and crispy, a lot of good fat rendering here. We're gonna go ahead and take off the thighs and legs first. We're gonna kind of find where the breast meets the thigh here and just run our knife right through there. Gonna find where the thigh bone kind of meets here, and sometimes you can just pull it apart. You don't even have to cut. I'm just gonna cut right through that joint. And then we got our chicken leg quarter here. We got some thigh meat and our leg. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. Remember, we worked some of the seasoning under the skin too, so we got a nice amount of seasoning there in the meat itself while it was cooking. Now we're gonna take our wings off. We're gonna kind of find where the wing attaches to the breast there, kind of cut through that little piece of skin, pull it back this way. And then what you can do, if you like chicken wings, is you can remove that wing tip. If you like your chicken wings a little crispier, you can throw these back on the Pit Boss on the high setting right over the direct heat there and really get these a little crispier. Now we're gonna go after the breast meat. So we're gonna come, we got the breast bone that runs right down the middle here. We're gonna kind of come on one side of it and come right down the side of that bone. Lose any, come down from this side too if you want. Try not to lose anything. There we go. You can see how juicy that meat is in there. Tons of seasoning, tons of flavor. All right, let's take apart our chicken leg quarter here. I'm just gonna come with our boning knife, the same one we're using to carve the turkey. It's gonna come between the thigh and the leg. And that joint is always a little further into the leg than you think it is. Okay, so you gotta cut a little bit into the leg part to really separate it. I'm gonna go right through the skin there. And we can separate our drumstick from our thigh. Do the same thing on the other side. So we'll take one of our chicken breasts here. We got our meat slicing knife. We're gonna go right through the middle. Got nice Try to get out of the shadow. Nice tender white meat there. Try a little bit of white meat here. So tender, good smoke flavor, tons of flavor from that Meat Church Holy Gospel rub we used on the inside and the outside of the skin. Just really, really good. We're gonna try a little dark meat now. That's really good too. Lots of good flavor. I think the key is letting that seasoning really soak into the chicken overnight if you have time to do it, at least a couple hours before you put it on the Pit Boss, and then letting the chicken really rest after you take it off the Pit Boss to let those juices redistribute and just let everything get tender and juicy. Don't rush it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll put a link to the full step-by-step recipe down in the description below, as well as links to all the products we use today if you want to check them out. And make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons if you want to get more content from our channel. Thanks for watching.